Doflamingo versus Oden. Apologies for the no card stand for a second there. I'll get it out in just a second, but we're going to go ahead and start off with the Perona. We are going first. Going to look at that top five there. We got a Croc on top, into a Boa, into a Gecko. Not just a decent top five. We do have we're kind of looking for a Jinbei, but unfortunately no Jinbei in sight here. Debating on whether this is just worth maybe putting on the bottom, but it does have some pretty good cards on top. Pudding is probably not going to be very applicable in this match, but that Boa might be pretty applicable, as the Oden deck typically does play a lot of small drops, so like the Otamas and the Momonosuke. So Momonosuke is going to be a repeatable searcher that they're going to be able to use every turn. Luckily, I already have a Perona on the board here. Opponent's just going to Pele 2 Dawn. Does not have a Momonosuke to start the early searches off. I'm going to go ahead and swing for 7k. We're going to go reveal the Croc, put the Croc into play here, and since 7 at lead, Oden's deck is interesting, right? Every non-counter that they run has counter if it's a Land of Wano type card. So at minimum, Oden's always got a bunch of 1Ks in hand, typically, unless he's got events in hand. So it is pretty interesting to be able to fight against here. I'm going to go ahead and start off with a Hiyori into Izo. Pretty nice little combo there, allowing him to draw a card and get a 5-drop out a turn early. Izo does attach 1 Dawn to Oden, and then Oden's leader ability allows him to get plus 1000 power for the whole turn cycle if he's got a Land of Wano type card with a cost of 5 or more in play. And Izo is one of the best ones. Izo, if you don't know what Izo does, as he's only really playable in this deck, his second ability allows you to turn any card in hand into a 2k counter, giving your opponent's character minus 2000 whenever you attack and discard a card. There's me actually reaching into frame there, little reading on that card just to make sure I understand the effect correctly here. Basically allowing them to invalidate certain attacks, especially now that their leader's at a 6k, right? So I'm going to have to go ahead and swing a 7 here. Opponent can discard a card from hand to make that Croc a 5k, which is going to just be eaten up by the Oden's attack, because Oden is a 6k lead right now. I'm going to go ahead and just do that. Turn that Kid Killer into counter here. We're going to go ahead and swing 7. We're going to activate effect. We know we have a Gecko on top, which is allow us to buy back a 2k here. And it's going to swing another 7 at lead here. Opponent only needs a 2k to get out of it. There's a 2k right on board there. And kind of my goal right now is potentially next turn we might play out a Weevil. Weevil's a pretty good target, just because if Oden's going to typically stay at 6k, we can at least continue to pressure, right, without using any Dawn. That Boa is going to be pretty awesome as well. Boa, especially if my opponent plays like a Momonosuke, can be a nice little punish as well. But Boa is stopping something from being able to attack. There's a Momonosuke, perfect target here. And Boa also being at 8k makes it really easy to attack in, especially with that 2k difference against a 6k lead. Means that they have to spend at least a 2k and a 1k to get out of the attacks there. I'm still sitting at 5. I'm pretty happy right now. Opponent's just going to use Momonosuke Search up a blocker. That is I think it's just a 3-drop blocker without counter. Opponent's going to go ahead and swing 6k or 7k into my Gecko. I'm just going to let it go, as I don't really have any counter, and I got a 2k and a 1k. And he's going to swing another 7k into my Croc here, both 5ks. And then he's going to go ahead and play out that blocker there. So I have a pretty cool play this next turn. I already know what's on top of my deck. It's a Pudding. I think there's a Boa, or I actually drew the Boa. So I think Pudding is one of the last cards I know of on the top of my deck at this point. So this turn, we're at 7 down. I think likely what we're going to do is just pressure. So send 6k with lead and then play the Boa. Boa will stop the Izo from attacking. And then, I don't know, we're holding 3 down. We might actually, okay, yeah, no. So I think we're going to wait another turn here. I think we do know what's on top of our life, or on top of our library. It is a Law. And we're going to just put that into play. We're going to put, basically when you put a Law into play, you put your opponent in this weird situation where like they see what it does, right? And Law, if your opponent has 6 or more cards in hand, you can bounce it back to your hand and they have to bottom deck one of the cards in their hand. So it's pretty awkward when you put a Law into play because they're just going to counter out of it because they don't want to be any less. Going to go ahead and use the Izo's ability using a Gum Pistol, I believe, to counter out of that. And then we're going to play out the Weevil. I think right now just prioritizing getting more cards in hand, right? So Weevil is a free cycle. Weevil will get us a card back in hand. And then wait to do the Bow on a turn where I can get maybe a little more value with it. And I think what we're going to do is we're reading the card, just seeing if we can put it back in hand regardless of my opponent's hand count. And we can. It is a up to ability, so I can return that 2k back to my hand. So now my hand feel a little heavier on the 2ks here. Oden is an aggro deck, so we have to be a little frightened of potential nonsense coming out here, though I'm still sitting pretty at 5 life, so I'm I'm happy to take a few hits here. Opponent's going to continue using Momonosuke. I don't think Momonosuke is going to be around much longer. I think next turn we're definitely going to be slamming down likely that Boa there. I think right now we're just trying to maintain board here. That he does pull an Oden out of the deck there. That Oden, I think it can set him. He like sets up for 3 Don, so he can get 2 attacks in, which is pretty scary for I think an 8K or a 9K character. I do think if we found a red rock, we're gonna feel pretty good about going into that. But that is a potential scary play. He can't play it this turn because it is 8 Don, and he is at currently actually. I think he's at it should be at the even curve, so he's at 7 Don right now. He's gonna go ahead and tap a certain amount there, 5, to play out another card. I actually don't know what that card's called. I know what his effect does. If he's got a Don attached to it, when it attacks, you can set up 2 Don, right? But it's just another 5 cost 7,000 body that Oden could use to proc his leader effect to set him back up to 6,000 power. We got 2 hits coming at us for 7Ks. That's going to use a lot of cards from hand. We just see another Boa off the top. That's the Boa that I believe we knew about. And so I think this turn is just likely just going to be a play a Boa. Play a Boas. I have enough Don to commit a swing into Izo. We could use the Boa to stop the, I think, Dinjiro? Is that the card's name? I don't know. The 7,000 power character off to the side there. We could stop that from attacking and try to pressure the Izo. Izo is the big target. Izo is annoying because that free 2K counter every turn, turning it, and that's pretty annoying. So, unfortunately, no Jinbeis this game. Jinbei is the lifeblood of this deck. If you see a Jinbei, you're a very happy camper. We're gonna go ahead and swing 7. I think we're just gonna blind flip here, and that's a Doflamingo coming off the top. That Doflamingo is pretty nice. It's gonna let me look at the top 5 here and see. Oh, we've got a few presents on our way. We've got looks like a Red Rock and a Jinbei. Exactly what I wanted to see. That Jinbei has a Weevil right in my hand, ready to go out with it. So that's pretty nice. That random. Sometimes going for the random flips is pretty fun here. And since I am on 9 Don, I still have 6 Don up to play out the Boa here. So got a 6. We have a Weevil we could potentially commit with, but I don't think it's worth attacking in at this point. So we're going to go ahead and just play out the Boa. We're going to stop that from attacking. Bottom deck the Momonosuke. Again, perfect answer to the Momonosuke there. Slap a little Brook die on there and let the opponent pass. Again, we're going to leave Weevil up. Weevil's going to easily potentially fall to one of these guys, or fall to a Gum Gum from hand. Gum Gum Pistol from hand, because I think it KOs to 6,000 or less. So I'm just going to keep it up. And try to use it on a turn where I can commit a little extra Don to it, right? A 6K swing into a 6K leader is fine, but it is Oden, and remember, Oden can turn every card in their hand. That's Land of Wano without counter into cards with 1K counter, so it's not like it's typically good to poke leaders that poke them for 5Ks if they're a 5K leader, 6K if they're 6K leader. But for Oden, he kind of gets away with it because he basically says everything I run is countered to some degree. Opponent's going to go ahead and swing a big heavy number here. This is going to be 8 into my lead here after cleaning up my Doflamingo blocker. We're going to go ahead and take it here. We do see a trigger. I don't think I'm going to have time to play that out, and so I think I'm likely just going to trigger it here. We're going to go ahead and put that Izo on the bottom of his deck off of a triggered Gravity Blade. That was pretty awesome there. Get rid of that Izo, and then we see an Oden come out. Again, I'm reading that Oden. It's a 8,000 or 8 or 9,000 8 cost. Sets himself up, and when he's KO'd, he gets to go find a 3 cost or less Land of Wano card and put it into play. We're going to slap the camera, and then we draw that nice little answer perfectly lined up. We've got a red rock off the top. We've also got a Jinbei sitting on top of the deck, so we know exactly what we're doing this turn. But it's just deciding what order we want to do it. So I want my opponent to assume that his Oden is going to stay around, right? So I might play in such a way allowing me to do some to try to get some cheeky swings out here before showing my trump card of being able to bottom deck his Oden, right? Because I think at this point he is leaning on that Oden a little bit. We're gonna go ahead. We send 7K lead. We're gonna go ahead and send 7K again. We'll activate effect. Gonna flip over a Jinbei. Jinbei's gonna jump right into the glare and then play out a Weevil, who's gonna jump into the glare right next to him, and that Weevil's gonna help me a card. All right, we got a Boa that can swing as well. 8K into 6K, pretty nice. So he ends up blocking that 7K swing. Now we're going to go 8K into the lead here. with my opponent immediately grabbing life, it kind of gives me an idea of what's in hand. Likely it's just a bunch of 1Ks or just something else. We're going to go ahead and just slap off that red rock saying, hey, all right, you're left with one guy on the field. And I've got a pretty full board at this point. A lot of these can just, threaten my opponent without even having Dawn attached. Makes a lot of problems for my opponent at this point. And the way they were easily taking life there makes me think that their hand is very either counter low, right? They might just have a bunch of 1Ks off Oden's ability. Likely no 2Ks here. He's going to go ahead and play out the Hiyori. Hiyori's going to let them put a Land of Wano card into play. Going to get out that Izo. Going to do a duplicate play from earlier in the game. Still really solid as it allows you to draw a card. And then Izo's going to just immediately attach a Dawn to something. He attaches it to the Dendro. Dendro will set up Dawn. Then he's going to play out a Nami. Nami's going to attach a rested Dawn to one of his characters or his leader. So I think it's 2 Dawn attached. You get 2 Dawn stood up or something like that. I really should read the card, but I think that card literally only sees play in one deck. So excuse me if I don't know what an 01 card does. Opponent's in a weird spot here, right? He could pressure my Boa, but how many 2Ks I got in hand? I've got at least 3 2Ks in hand and a bunch of 1Ks. I'm likely going to be able to protect anything that my opponent attacks into, because again, I need to go for game here. Yep, he's going to he's going to swing. I'm not sure where that's going, but I am countering out of it. It looks like it's going at lead if I'm countering that much, if I'm giving him 5K, because that is a 9K swing. I'm just going to counter out of that. And then I could have been also gone into Jinbei. And then opponent's going to go ahead and tap 2, going to play out, or 3, going to play out a blocker here. And then he's got 4 Dawn to work with. Could play Kid Killer, did show us one earlier. It says he's going to play out a Momonosuke. Momonosuke's going to let him look at top 5. Try to find something nice. Likely for his sake, it's going to be a 2K counter. He does find a 2K counter Yamato. Because that's my read on him is his hand is very 2K light. So I might be able to get away with some nonsense in the next few turns. Then he's going to go ahead and attach 2 to lead. He's going to go ahead and swing a 8K because he's got a 5 cost. He's going to swing 8K at a Weevil here. I think I'm going to save the Weevil here. We're going to give him a 2K to 1K, save the Weevil up to 9, and then we're going to pass our turn. We have some attackers, 10 Dawn on the field here. We've got some stuff to work with here. We also have a Boa that we could play again. The Boa could come out and bottom tech either the Nami or the Momonosuke, stop one of the big threats from attacking. But I do have to keep in mind of that Izo, right? So that Izo is going to turn any card in his hand into a 2K counter, which is pretty strong here. So I think right now it's just going to be poke him for 1 higher, right? We know he's got a 2K in hand, so we're at least going to get that out of hand here, going to swing 7K. Another 7K would eat another card from hand off the Izo trigger. We're going to go swing 8K at lead here. And at this point, I'm kind of trying to go for game. Just my hand is pretty light on counter now. I used a lot of counter just to save things, and if I'm going to save things, I'm going to try to counter out of things. Opponent's going to use effect as well as a 1K counter, so Bo's going to be down to a 6K plus a 1K, gets him out of the attack here. Still got 4 more characters attack. That Perona could get frisky as well. Opponent has 1 or 2 cards in hand at this point. I do need to get that block to come off as well. We're going to go and send 8K at lead, basically saying if that last card's a 2K. And then I think we just need to kind of potentially split this up here. We do have 7 Dawn to work with. We could go 8K with Jinbei and then 9K with lead. Unless he pulled a 2K, 1K out, which is possible, but if we'll see here, we're going to go ahead and just swing. The fact that he insta blocks with the 8K swing tells me that either he's bluffing really hard, trying to bait me into it, or he just has no counter in hand. He had a 1K counter out of a Momonosuke and a dragon there, and I was able to clean it up there. The game got a little tight towards the end there, but I was able to finish it off. Oden sometimes just doesn't have enough 2K counters. They have 1K counters for days, but once their hand gets small, it's really hard for them to come back. If you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe and like the video to let me know that you like Dofi. If you want to see more Dofi content, liking the video, commenting always gets me to play it more often. Definitely going to be playing it once the starter deck comes out. With that in mind, everybody, thanks for watching and have a good one.